Next thing we're going to discuss now is the principle of drawing. In our facilitation, we like to teach what we call a principle as opposed to a technique. A principle is a rule or a philosophy behind something, and a technique is how we would apply that. So the principle of drawing is to get your muzzle on target as soon as possible. Based on this, we have three different types of draws for the handgun. We have what we call a directional draw, we have a cross draw, and a cavalry draw. Now the directional draw means that if you're right-handed, the gun is on the right-hand side. It is then drawn with the right hand. As demonstrated, the gun will be drawn from the holster to the pec muscle. From there, the muzzle points on target, and from there the gun is punched out. The cross draw, where the gun is positioned on the left-hand side, if you're right-handed, with the butt of the gun facing forwards. Should we draw from there? Again, the gun is drawn from the holster. We want the muzzle on target. The gun is then inverted to an upright position, and from there fired. The cavalry draw is where the gun is drawn with the left hand from the left-hand side, where it's in the cross draw position. From there, the gun is drawn from the holster, muzzle on target again as soon as possible. From there, inverted, and the gun will be fired in the left hand. A very important aspect of this drawing is also to reholster. Now, the best way we find to teach people to reholster is the same way it was drawn. So, like the directional draw, the gun is drawn to the pec muscle. From there, the gun is punched out. When we holster, it goes back in exactly the same way. The cross draw and the cavalry draw are no exception. So the way the gun came out onto target is the same way the gun should go back in. With the rifles and the shotguns, we use sling work. So if you were carrying the rifle with a sling, as demonstrated, you would be stepping forward with the shotgun or the rifle, pointing to the safe direction. From there, turn the gun into the right shoulder, and from there we're ready to fire. Directional draw means the gun's on your right-hand side will be drawn with the right hand straight onto target, so it's one direction. I'll demonstrate that for you. The way we holster the firearm is the same way as the gun came out. So back to the chest, and from there into the holster. Okay, just to demonstrate again, critical things to look out for. One, when we draw, the firearm moves from the holster onto target, shortest route. From here, when we're going to activate the slide, very important that the hand comes from behind, cycles the gun, make sure that the hand does not cross over the front of the muzzle while we punching the gun out. The two hands come together, and from there the shot is fired. To unload, and back into holster, same way it came out. Cross draw position is where the firearm is placed on the left-hand side, if you're right-handed, with the butt facing forward. The principle of drawing stays the same. We want the muzzle on target as soon as possible. The most common error that we have with the cross draw position is that people tend to muzzle sweep, where the muzzle tends to muzzle sweep your own arm, which means you're presenting a hazard to self and obviously to others. So the principle again, muzzle on target as soon as possible, which means that when we draw from the cross draw position, the minute the firearm clears the holster, we want to turn the muzzle onto target. From there, the gun is punched out. From there, we'll cycle the gun, punch out and fire. To reholster, the gun goes back in the same way it came out. So from there, we turn upside down, bring the gun back into the holster, and reholster. I'll demonstrate that with firing now. The firearm is drawn from the cross draw position, muzzle on target, turned, cycled, and fired. From there, safety catch on, we invert the gun upside down, maintaining the muzzle on target, back into the holster. The cavalry draw is originated from the cross draw position. The only difference now is we're drawing with the left hand. Again, the same hazards apply. Should the muzzle be swept onto target, there's a good possibility you'll muzzle sweep the vital areas of your own body. So from here, the technique again, muzzle on target as soon as possible. The minute the gun clears the holster, from here, we put the muzzle on, the gun is inverted. From there, we load and we fire. To holster the firearm, we transition into the right hand, upside down again, and we holster the same way as we would for the cross draw position. I'll just demonstrate with firing now. The cavalry draw, the gun is drawn, produced from the holster, muzzle on, from there it's turned, the gun is cycled, and from there it's fired. To reholster, transition into the right hand, safety catch on, invert over, and reholster. To Present the shotgun to target from the shoulder or the sling. Very important again, muzzle on target as soon as possible. So when the gun is presented, we first step forward, present the muzzle on. You'll note the right hand comes from underneath into the shoulder. From there we'll pump the forend and fire the shot. I'll demonstrate this now with firing. So again, on presenting the shotgun, muzzle on target, right hand comes underneath. From there we activate and fire.